You're listening to Cards to the Moon, a podcast about trading cards from both a collector and investor perspective. We hope you'll stick around for the ride as we take a deep dive into the state of the hobby, share some hot takes, hopefully some useful advice, and fun stories along the way. Hey guys, welcome to Cards to the Moon. Thank you for joining us for episode 72 this Friday. My name is Clark from 5 Card Guys on Instagram. And with me as always is Hyung of Integrity Sports Cards and John, who is Trade You at Recess. Okay, so off the top today, as we're recording this, the MLB trade deadline is now over. And the big trade of the day is, of course, Whit Merrifield coming to the Toronto Blue Jays for an infielder.
I was about to say,
pitcher.
let's go.
You know, we can always use more infield depth, right, boys?
Man, that was a bad pickup by Toronto. Just saying.
Man.
I don't think we needed that, but jokes aside, the blockbuster trade is, of course, Juan Soto going to the San Diego Padres.
That's nuts.
Along with Josh Bell. And here's the list who the Nationals got: Luke Voigt, Mackenzie Gore, C.J. Abrams, Robert Hassel III, James Wood, and Jarlin Susana.
Some big time prospects.
Holy.
Yeah. So Hyung, actually, I know you were high on some of the prospects I just mentioned. How do you feel about this trade overall for both the Padres and the Nats?
I'm higher on Soto, I'll tell you that. And you know what? Josh Bell's the icing. I think the Padres won out for sure. Like I know they gave up a lot, but like come on, it's Soto and Josh Bell. Like that's I think the Josh Bell's the kicker.
Right.
To be honest.
And,
yeah.
Yeah, and Bell's having a great season too, right? So
yeah, I don't know much about Josh Bell, but when I saw the trade, I was like, isn't Josh Bell pretty good? I was like, holy cow.
I mean, it eliminates Hosmer, so you got rid of Hosmer. Right. You got now Bell. I mean, Hosmer has 8 home runs as a first baseman. You need more production, especially in that lineup and with Soto, kind of complementing Machado and Tatis.
Oh boy.
Cronenworth. Like, you're talking a pretty fun lineup. I'm pretty excited.
Yeah.
yeah, they'll be a fun team to watch. So I guess bringing it back to the hobby, do you think this trade will do anything to Soto's card value, or how about even some of the top prospects like Hassel and Wood?
I think for both, yeah, potentially. I think it could affect Soto's price. I mean, if they do some damage and really run LA out of town, which I think they have a legit shot at. They're just building. They made some big moves and the proper moves, so it's gonna be interesting to see. So I think if they start, making a statement, start dominating, you're gonna see a rise in Soto's prices. Even you kind of already seen it. I checked prices just like within the last hour, and it's just like I'm like, whoa, these weren't moving before, so.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to say the least. But I think both sides, there's a backlog. Like C.J. Abrams, for instance, I think he's going to get a fair shake now. He's always, been kind of shadowed by Tatis, and same with Hassel. I was high on Hassel. I think he still has, a lot of room to grow, and he was the number 1 prospect of the Padres organization. So they gave away a lot of prospects. Don't get me wrong. Any of these players end up becoming, what they're capable of. You could see what the trade's worth, but I think in the short term, you can't go wrong. But with the Padres, but I think the card prices could be effective in both positive ways for both sides. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. What do you think, John?
Well, Soto's cards have already gone up about 30% in the last couple of weeks, as the moment he rejected that final offer and it looked like he was going to get traded, you can see his cards start to spike. And then I think just literally, like Hyung was mentioning, just today alone, it probably went up about 5%. At the same time, by tomorrow morning, maybe it'll go back to that 5% will disappear, because you just look at the number of listings that are popping out. It's crazy. Everybody's just trying to sell it right now. So you could probably see it come down a bit, but I could see this going well for Soto. I think I can't speak so much to the prospects. I think that's Hyung's area of expertise. But just as a fan of baseball, to see, if you've been watching anything of Soto with the Washington Nationals, it is brutal. Like, he has no support. They're just pitching around him. He's like getting like 3 walks a game. I mean, he's obviously got one of the best eyes in the game, but he is getting no pitches. So as a fan of baseball, fan of Soto, it's going to be just awesome watching him have support, protection, and get some legit pitches for him to start swinging. So, and then Tatis coming back. Oh boy,
it's going to be a fun lineup.
It's going to be crazy. Yeah.
What's the top 4 in that lineup look like? Tatis, I think, leading off. Right. I saw that. Soto second. Bell third.
Machado has to be
Machado. Yeah.
And then Cronenworth.
Cronenworth.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got Trent Grisham probably at the bottom of the order, and
yeah.
I mean, that's not too bad, a 9-hole hitter.
Right. Yeah.
Still a lot of upside in Trent, so.
Yeah, pretty crazy. Yeah, I had Juan Soto, like his Bowman Chrome base rookie auto on my watch list for the last little while because, he's been having a bit of a down season, compared to his own numbers. I lost the opportunity to get in now. It's like damn, I was like just like waiting for it to go a bit cheaper, and then out of nowhere. Well, not out of nowhere, but like that news where he rejected the 15-year, $450 million.
But you guys think, how long will this sustain? You think it'll correct back,
the Soto
on a downward trend? Yeah, because you get these emotional spikes.
True,
but then people realize it's like, well, he's in a Padres uniform, like it's back to normal, And obviously, it's going to put him in a better position to do well. So hopefully that becomes the fuel. But I think most people realize when it levels out, it should be, correcting itself to whatever it's actually worth eventually. Right. So I think there's going to be a lot of mixtures of people kind of buying and selling right now. So we won't get the true cost of or value. I think there's a lot of emotion.
Point.
Yeah.
Good point. Sure. Yeah. I could at this point, I'm definitely waiting for the off season.
Now you have to, right?
Yeah. And I'm actually looking at, Soto's new teammate, Tatis cards. You know what I mean? Like we talked about it in the previous episode. Yeah. So before he comes back, before they play together, there might be like a small window of opportunity to pick up a Tatis.
For sure. His prices
it could be right now, man.
Pretty nice.
It could be right now.
If he comes out hot, and I mean, you just never know with Tatis. We've all seen it the last couple of years, and he's a guy like kind of like Soto, where it goes crazy. Right. His prices, right? When it goes right. So, I mean, he's still young. Obviously, a lot of people are fearful in the injury. I think it should affect Tatis cards in a positive way too, to be honest, because now you're getting all three guys: Machado, Tatis, Soto. Like, I mean, that's a pretty banging trio, and it's only going to help wedge Soto's lefty bat between 2 right-handed sticks. Yeah. So you're going to get better looks from every player involved. So hopefully Tatis comes out hot. Because I love Tatis. I'm all in on him.
And your Machado lot pickup.
I was about to say that's what he's loving.
Looking good too now.
I love it. Yeah, his prices are healthy too, and I think his chrome, because the pop count's so low, right? So just a couple tens and I'm golden.
Yeah. Wow, what a trade! And as for the prospects with Hassel and Wood. The only thing I'm worried about is that they're going to essentially a dysfunctional Nationals team that's going to change ownership, pretty soon. And I just feel bad for them, for National fans.
Wood is actually a DC guy, so I think his prices might have a little fan base, and he might be. I'm telling you, Wood might be the dude in like 4 or 5 years. He might be the dude, like the next big thing, right? So. I mean, I like Hassel too. He could become an all-star. So, both are legit prospects, and CJ Abrams is pretty good as well. So
true.
James Wood watch list.
But
James Wood watch list.
I like it.
But yeah, I agree, Clark. Like, I think it could also, going to Washington, you know, it could be also a negative thing, I guess, in people's eyes. Right. Yeah. So
hopefully not. But yeah, if you like look at the last few years, who have they lost? Here's the list. They lost Bryce Harper, Anthony Rendon, Max Scherzer, Trey Turner, and now Juan Soto. That team was ridiculous.
That's crazy. Yeah.
and now they're all gone. So
all gone. You got to rebuild.
Yep. All right. Hopefully, a new ownership team will help clean that franchise up. All right, let's go on to our Friday discussion. And I wanted to talk a bit about the recent National Sports Collectors Convention that took place this past week in Atlantic City. We unfortunately weren't able to make it, but there was no shortage of news and updates coming at us from our social media feeds from those who were there. And, you know, from what you've seen and read, you know, I want to ask you, what kind of vibe did you get from this year's National? I'm asking because, you know, we're still in this bear market. So I was curious, for me personally, to see how many would have attended this one. And it looks like it was pretty robust. It looks like it was a good show out. But anyway, initial thoughts on what you've seen come out of this year's biggest sports card event.
Somebody said there was no Wi-Fi. Is that true?
You know what? That was one of my points. I heard it was $80 to get connected to the the convention Wi-Fi.
That's a quick way to leave that venue to a new city.
Yeah,
you know, no one wants to go to Atlantic City.
I heard the 5G was really spotty, so you're sort of forced to try and get the Wi-Fi.
So comps were a little tough, I heard.
Yeah. You gotta memorize the comps.
Brutal. Man, I was so jealous seeing all of the content rolling out. It looked like so much fun. It seemed
like a good time.
The buzz seemed crazier than last year. I heard the attendance maybe wasn't as insane, but the buzz, or you know, like the amount of fun people were having there, definitely looked like it was on display. At least from what we saw from like the YouTubers and whatnot. So it's good vibes for sure.
I did see a couple posts saying, like, you know, I'm coming back from the Nationals, like, had a terrible loss. You know?
It's true.
You know, just mentioning that, throwing it out there. Right. So I could see that happening too. You know, are these shows actually, you know, are they profitable or beneficial in that sense? I don't know. Can you pick up, you know, absolute gems, you know, that you've never seen before? Absolutely. Right. So I think for a lot of people, it's all depend. I don't think people go. I guess people go for different reasons, right? Like the culture. I think for a hobbyist, that was always like top of the list. You know, you go there to meet your digital buddies. You know, your IG friends and stuff now. Right. True. So it's like people love that experience, the culture of trading. And I guess in a market when it's down, trading is the best thing to do, right? Instead of selling and you know trying to profit off cards. So
I heard trading was tough too, though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. From like only a handful of people, but they said that trading was, people were only looking for the rarest of rare cards, like very awesome, rare, you know, like your standard red wave, kind of low pop or base, Luca, stuff like that was like an absolute no-go for people. It was literally, people were just looking for rare stuff. That's what I heard.
Interesting. Yeah, I could see this year's event being fun more for the collector types. We talked about this before, right? In the bear market, you get rid of a lot of the investor types, the quick flippers. And I think that was a lot of that last year, and especially the year before that, when everyone was making money left, right, and center. And the ones that looked like they had a good time were like more legitimate collector types, you know, like they go for their PC, and you know, at a big convention like that, you'll probably find something that you want for your own PC. So obviously you're going to have more fun. But if you're there to try to make money, like Hyung, you were saying, you saw a few attendees just losing a lot. You know, it's not the best market to try to, you know, flip, right? So So yeah, I think in the long run, I think this is good for the hobby. Like you're trying to get rid of those quick flippers and get people that are more serious about, both investing and collecting. Collect what you love. We always say that too, right? So
I think the timing of the whole, even the whole mantle, the 52 tops mantle that we talked about the last episode, I think the timing of that really helped the hobby too. It was a really, I think, positive in general. And I guess with that PSA 10 being displayed, we all got to see the D-backs collection one, owned by the D-backs owner.
Yeah, no, I was going to bring that up. The Mickey Mantle PSA 10 D-backs card. Like, again, if you're really into the hobby and, that's kind of cool to see in person, right? Like, I would have loved to see 100%. A 35 million card on display. That's a museum piece.
Yeah, that's like a museum.
Exactly.
You're going to a museum.
Insane.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. A couple other things I've noticed on my feed. Fanatics and Zero Cool, they made a huge splash this year. I think they had like 4 20-foot digital screens, so you couldn't miss their booth. But wow. They did three activations. So especially with Zero Cool being into like more culture trading cards, and I think they launched, or they were just announcing the release of Stranger Things trading cards, right. Dune the movie, and Clerks the movie. So that's an interesting trend, I think. Like it's not just about sports, really getting into the culture of trading cards too, right? So
all the hobbyists are like holding their breath right now.
Don't hate, guys. Come on, don't hate.
I legitimately would buy the Stranger Things one though. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
I love Stranger Things.
I'm all about it. I'm just noting that out there.
I did think there was more diversity too. I think Women of the Hobby, they were there as well, and they had a panel on one of the other podcasts, and that's kind of cool to see a more diverse crowd and more kids. I think that was also a good thing to see at this year's national. Right. So yeah, question for you guys to kind of, I guess, to wrap up this episode. Next year it's in Chicago. Hopefully we can make it to that one. That'll be a lot of fun. Anything you're hoping to see, or from now until next summer for that show in Chicago?
You know what? I'm just looking forward to attending one of these events. I personally made a vow that I wouldn't go until it's in Las Vegas, because I think that's the perfect venue, so that we could all get lost. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm excited to go next year and check out kind of like the show from a hobbyist perspective. It's like we're supposed to go before COVID in 2019 and 2020. So we couldn't. We've been anticipating. We've been waiting for it, right? It's always been the big event, and I think the boys are up for it. Early talks now, so it gets it in motion. So I'm definitely excited. I don't know particularly what I'm gonna look forward to, but I guess in the next year, I'm sure I'll start getting more into the vintage side of things as more long-term investments. So I'd love to see kind of like more of those big museum pieces out there for sure.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I think anticipating going to the show to, number one, just to be at the show, and all of the highlights that we have seen that we've been so jealous of, to be able to experience it, I think that would be pretty cool. And then in terms of like our personal collections, I mean, there have been cards that I have always wanted for my PC, some bigger cards that I always tell myself, if I see it at the show, I might trade in for it. And, especially in like local card shows, it's not really that, I know the odds of me seeing something very particular is pretty low. And for the most part from the shows that we've gone to, not even close. Like I wasn't even close to seeing anything related to like my PC. But at the National, I have a lot more confidence that I actually might see some cards, some cards that I could certainly trade into, like a Kobe Flawless patch auto, right? That's up in the 8, almost 5 figures. But if it's there and maybe like a trade possibility is there, that's something I would love to maybe get into, right? especially at a card show. So I think something like that, obviously at the national, it's very highly likely. At a local show, probably not. So those are probably in terms of like a personal PC thing. I'm excited to possibly not to say that would actually happen, but just to even possibly have the opportunity. Something I'm looking forward to for sure.
Yeah, no, for sure. And for me, I think personally, a couple things. Now that we've been doing this podcast for over a year now, and like we've been connected to a few other hobby content creators. Like you see a lot of them meet up in person during these big events, so that'll be kind of cool to connect with those guys. Like guys we like, I think you mentioned before too, Hyung, like our digital friends become IRL friends and just hang out and talk about the hobby. That'd be a good experience. And then who knows what's going to happen in a year. Like we could still be in a recession, we could still like see like we could still see prices kind of trend downward, but I hope by that time, like the market will have adjusted. Like I think one of the main problems with trying to get a good deal is like people are still holding on to their bags, right? And they want to sell it for as much as possible. Yet, the prices have gone down. So, maybe in a year's time, you might get those prices that you want it for, because sellers realize that, I'm not going to be able to sell this if I
get whatever you can.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So maybe there's opportunities there to get good cards, but again, who knows what's going to happen in a year. But that being said, like we're in a really, we're in a bear market. So like seeing an event like this and seeing that there's still a lot of people coming out to this event, like it gives me more confidence that, like the hobby is still, thriving, and we don't have to worry about it going back to like, like I think I saw someone on Instagram say like, oh, I remember when train nights was 35 people and now it's like a whole room, like hundreds of people, right? Like I don't think we're going back to the 35 people days again, so.
And those are all positive signs, of the hobby from a long-term kind of like market growth. And that's the stuff you kind of want to see. And you have back-to-back momentum events like the national and the mantle, and we keep on using that as momentum. And at the end of the day, the people make the hobby, and as long as you keep the losers out, like the people that have absolutely no business in the hobby, and people, and for the most part, I see it all the time on Facebook, on Instagram, most people are great, and don't let that one person ruin that experience, right? And I think we stand up enough for each other for what's right. And I believe that's something that we all have to, keep respect to, and be a member of the hobby in a positive way, right? So,
yeah, something
to agree with. Yeah,
related to that, something that I've always been proud of in terms of the hobby is when you go to these shows, especially like the expo that we've gone to, the two Canadian ones that we've gone to, and then you look at the national. Luckily this time, most of these times around, we haven't seen any big news of some massive crime or something that horribly happened there. And it just shows, like, obviously there are one-off, like just absolute D-bags that don't belong there, but it just shows how much the hobby respects one another, right? You have like Mickey Mantle PSA 10 within arm's reach, maybe not major security walking around. Like you would never see that in a museum or art collection show. And then you go to like trade night with like a normal security guy at the door, guys walking around with like $100,000 cases, no crime happening, like all for the love of the hobby. Like that's stuff that you're, as a hobbyist, you're just proud. You're just like, these are good people.
Sure.
Even though there's like tons of money involved, like this is, knock on wood, it's like probably like a criminal's paradise, but it's all great people getting along for the sake of the hobby, trading, purchasing, whatever they're doing. So it's amazing to see, that much money and stuff in the room. With any other industry, you'd probably see some insane amount of security. But for the hobby, I think everybody is understanding and respectful. Hopefully, I hope nothing horrible happens in the future, but it's good to see. It's always good to see, these big events go by with nothing horrible happening.
Yeah, for sure. I'll just say one thing. I'm pretty sure there was probably off to the side big security for the Mickey Mantle $35
That's true. Yeah.
but generally speaking, yeah, I totally agree with your point. Right. For me in closing, like the one thing I also want to bring up quickly is the presence of corporations. Like I know some people are like whatnots. Like there's a lot of companies now coming into the space. Whether they're selling accessories to the hobby or, I personally don't have a problem with that. You know what I mean? Like, I think more money into the hobby is always a good thing. And of course, they're not going to do everything perfectly. But I feel like corporations at the end of the day also want to make money, also want to see the hobby thrive. It's in their best interest. And they're learning as they go too. So, I don't mind it personally. I don't, if you guys had any thoughts about that yourself.
I mean, for me, this is life. This is all markets. This is a very normal thing to happen when there's a lot of money involved, right? So, I mean, for me, there's a lot of always people that are going to try to make the greatest new invention in the market. So it's like, you know what? Let them be. Let them do, what they need to do. It shouldn't affect your happiness or your, you know what I mean? It's like, just worry about kind of like what you need to do and what you need to accomplish. And if you don't like the way things are going on, you know what? Create something of your own that you don't have to worry about that, right? Or it counters that or whatever it may be, right? So like for me, I'm all about creating. This, Clark, like I'm big on just, let's see where this goes, whatever it may be, right? So I think in order for us to, move forward and continually improve the hobby, we need some perspective, and we need a little bit of polarity, right? To kind of know what we like and what we appreciate and what we don't like. So I think it's all good, in the end. And yeah, I'm optimistic. I'm in general. So
nice. All right, with that, we'll just wrap up this episode. Again, we'd like to thank all our listeners and subscribers to our podcast. And if you enjoyed this episode, we really appreciate you giving us 5 stars or positive feedback. All right, and now we'll see you for our next episode on Tuesday. See you then. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to Cards to the Moon. We'd really appreciate you subscribing to our podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts. And you can also connect with each of us on Instagram at 5cardguys, or you can follow Hyung at Integrity Sports Cards or John at TradeU at Recess. You can also check us out at 5cardguys.com. Thanks again, and hope to connect soon.